Well, maybe Tony Khan's 719th consecutive big announcement that he's got on Dynamite this week will be about the women's division.
Maybe that's what his announcement's going to be tonight, that he just comes on out and says, I've started liking women's wrestling. So I don't know, maybe more than one match per show.
It's better than him coming out and being like, "Did you guys know women worked here?" Weird, huh? Anyway, that's my big announcement. See ya.
Well, okay, so I used to defend AEW's booking of the women's division when the show first started out. And so when they just started out and they're just having one match per show, I was like, look, the free agents that they signed that have name recognition, they're all dudes. Like, there's nothing they can do about it. But that's not the case anymore, right? Like, they've got stars that are women, but it's just this doing just one match every show, which I think reminds too many fans of the Attitude Era, and because that's the ratio, right? It'd be one match per show. And I don't know if you can really build stars efficiently that way, because when there's only one match per show, then the division doesn't feel important and the title doesn't feel important, and therefore you're less emotionally invested in the entire division and the stars in it. So I think it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy they're going with right now. Like, oh, well, we don't put our women's division on Dynamite much because it doesn't do good in the ratings, but it doesn't do good in the ratings because you don't put it on Dynamite much, and so people don't see it as important. So
it's a catch-22, and it also calls into question Tony Khan's ability to build stars, because in your women's division, since like you say, they started off with a lot of like indie darlings and people that if you're into wrestling, but not a lot of name recognition. So you got to build those stars, and Tony hasn't really shown yet that he can build a star. He hasn't really made any stars yet. There are guys and gals who are getting a lot more exposure now. There's guys and gals that are having a bigger audience to perform in front of, and thus gaining notoriety that way. But like in terms of like making a star, 90% of the people that have gone into AEW had that cachet, that credit already built up.
Yeah.
They were well known, and that's not a bad thing. It's not a knock on anyone. But when you're looking at your women's division that doesn't have that many people with the same name recognition, you need to put in the effort. Like, you need to showcase them and show us why we care about them, not just kind of like give lip service to the fact that you have a women's division and it's got a title named after a television station.
Yeah, I mean, AEW has built some stars. You could certainly make the argument that maybe that was more the stars building themselves as opposed to the booking.
Yeah, that's what I mean by the bigger audience. Yeah,
because like Britt Baker is a star in the sense that she has shown that her segments will do good or okay, at least in the ratings. She's sold merchandise. So Britt Baker is a star, but then I don't know who else in the women's division they have that has really shown an ability to move numbers, as in like do good ratings and things like that. Jade Cargill did a little bit at first, but then I think people just figured out, okay, this is all we're ever going to get from Jade Cargill in AEW is she's going to be fed challengers for a period of time, and then that's it. And she never interacted with the Britt Bakers or it was just Jade Cargill.
It was a weird division within the women's division at that point. Like, almost, I want to say it was by title or whatever. Like, you people are going to be the television people title, and you guys will be the word, But like, there was definitely levels.
Yeah, and just AEW doesn't like to beat people, so they'll just have certain wrestlers like avoid each other. Like Jade Cargill would never wrestled Britt Baker. They're the two biggest stars the division had for years, never wrestled. Because he didn't want to beat either one of them. He didn't want Jade Cargill to lose, and he didn't want Britt Baker to lose. Of course, Britt Baker loses all the time now, but for whatever reason, they never did that. And that's why AEW does all these tournaments. They'll do these tournaments for a title shot, but then it's like, well, Chris Jericho's not entered into it, or John Moxley didn't enter this tournament. It's like, do these guys not want to win the title? And so I don't know. We've talked about this before, but AEW's booking doesn't feel realistic to me. Like like if this was real, I feel like too many people would complain that this isn't like a sport. People aren't all being given the opportunity to rise up the rankings and win titles.
Yeah, well, I mean, the decision as to who gets title shots in AEW, as we've talked about before, is very, very subjective.
It's just here's a title match,
Yeah,
like tonight on Dynamite, Willow Nightingale is challenging Hikaru Shida for the women's title. Literally on Rampage last week, Willow Nightingale was in a number 1 contenders match that she lost. And then not even a week later, she gets a title shot anyway. So
did the person who beat her get a title shot?
Yeah, she did. Okay. But that was on
Collision. A triple threat. I don't know.
Yeah,
or a triangle match, whatever they called them. But yeah, I would like to see more of the AEW women's division. But this is also, of course, assuming they can stay healthy.